Picture this. A December morning in 1315. Your neighbors are frozen, stiff in their beds, not from plague or steel, but from cold. Medieval winter wasn't a Christmas postcard. It was a 6-month sentence. Yet some households survived year after year thanks to rough, whispered knowledge. One misstep and a family line ended. This isn't a bag of tips, it's a life and death toolkit. Today's map, 10 parts, straight to the core from the deadly backdrop to 7 survival skills. Then the final truth and the close. Let's begin. Winter in Europe during the Little Ice Age hit like a hammer. Rivers froze for months, fields failed, livestock collapsed, and people followed. Chronicles from 1,315 record villages that didn't move. They vanished because everyone died. The Great Famine took millions, and winter was the deftest executioner. This was a war of attrition where each additional sunrise counted as a small victory. Some places even changed names after disasters to warn later generations about the ice's memory. No weather apps, no insulation. Floors were dirt, roofs leaked, and the fire died if the watcher nodded off. A German chronicle from 1323 tells of families burning furniture, then doors, and finally sitting in empty rooms waiting for the smoke to fade. Survivors weren't lucky. They were trained by life techniques purchased with hunger, cold, and funerals. Every trick was an experiment whose witness stood among the gravestones outside. When winter is a mass murderer, every small choice is knife sharp. The first skill smells like the barn, but it saved more lives than any charm the living furnace. Survivors knew what the dead did not. Livestock are biological heaters, not cuddling for comfort, but thermal strategy. Cows, pigs, goats, and chickens on the ground floor, the family sleeping above. One cow throws off about 1,500 watts more than a space heater. 3 give a steady 4,500 watts. Enough to tip the line between wake up and freeze stiff. Their warm breath even lowered clammy humidity, keeping bedding from turning damp and moldy. Handy households designed for free convection. Warm below, warm above, hot air rising, and cold air pooling near the pens. Norwegian farm layouts show this plan keeping people alive at 30 degrees Celsius. The ammonia stank, yes, but the warmth rode along with it. A clean house, a distant barn, often meant a clean house, a cold corpse. To cope, they spread thick straw to soak moisture and added floor planks, turning the stench into a tolerable trade-off. A living furnace only buys a winter night. The body is still a finite battery. Next step, sleep as if dying, so you can keep living. When stores thinned and temperatures plunged, seasoned families shifted to partial hibernation. 16-20 hours of sleep a day, wrapped in hides and cloth, bodies clustered to cut heat loss and calories. French records from the 14th century call it a sleep season, not laziness, but survival math. They train their bodies to downshift with a fat-heavy meal before burrowing into the pile and cut movement to the bare minimum. Active bodies burn 1,800 2,400 kilocalories a day. Heavy sleepers bring it down to 1,200 1,400. With 6 to 9 months of food in one root cellar, saving to 1,000 kilocalories per person per day is the gap between limping into March and ending in February. Some households arranged core and rim, children in the middle, elders at the edge. Where many didn't make it, everyone knew, few said it aloud. A rotating fire watch woke people on schedule and kept anyone from drifting into dangerously deep chill. Long sleep matters only if the house's heart never dies. Keeping flame for months on scant fuel, that's the art of the third skill. Fire was everything. Cooking, boiling, light, and a floor that didn't freeze. The trap is that wood vanishes fast. Big, cheerful flames burn you out by February. The wise did the opposite. Prepare early, burn small, and bank coals. First rule, avoid green wood. Half its weight is water, and heat is wasted boiling it away. Summer was for cutting, covering, curing. Winter was for dense, dry logs that burned hot and long. They even sorted by density hardwood for nights, softwood for morning kindling. Second rule banking: stack half-burned logs and cover with ash to starve oxygen. In the morning, scrape and feed, and the fire blooms without squandering tinder. Third rule: peat and dung bricks. Slow, steady burn, perfect for night watch in low airflow. A well-managed hearth could run all winter on about 60% of what a careless home torched in a single month. They also shifted the hearth against prevailing winds to vent smoke while avoiding drafts that sucked warmth outside. Coals hum, bodies idle, but stomachs are ruthless clocks. Next comes the hard art of strategic hunger. Winter rationing is the polite term for controlled deprivation. You harvest, then stretch it 9-10 months. Most households knew from day one they were short. Allocation turned merciless. Working adults at 1,400, 1,500 kilocalories just to swing tools. Children enough to avoid permanent stunting. Elders' maintenance rations, thin as mist. They even balanced salt to avoid water retention, edema, and cramps. Some also drank less on purpose. Water is heavy, fetching it is risky, and processing fluids costs heat. Minimal drinking meant headaches and poor sleep, but less effort and fewer calories spent. Monastic notes tell of Easter congregations swaying with weakness. Many mothers shaved their bowls to feed children, and the one adult still strong enough to split wood. They learned the trick of lean food, hot drink, thin soups, and warm herb teas that faked fullness and warmed from within. However strict the ration, fresh vitamins still matter. Strangely enough, winter is also a pantry if you know how to harvest frost. Part 6. Roots like turnips, beets, carrots, parsnips, and hardy greens sweeten after hard freezes. Starch turns to sugar to reduce ice damage. The savvy left part of the crop in the soil, using snow and frozen ground as a natural freezer. The key is technique. Dig in mild spells, and cell walls burst. You bring home a useless slurry. Beds were marked in autumn, so no time was wasted hunting under bitter skies. The right way. Choose the coldest hour. Loosen around the plant. Lift the root with its frozen soil clod, then store near the freeze point and draw down slowly. Some dug snow tunnels to the garden, limiting heat loss indoors and avoiding dangerous gusts. Half-frozen roots aren't pleasant, but their calories, vitamin C, and one more week alive. Those who didn't know, frost harvesting starved with food beneath their boots. They also tracked thaw windows. An untimely warm snap could wreck the whole outdoor freezer. When garden gifts fade and haystacks thin, the knife of arithmetic turns to the buyer. What to kill, what to keep, and exactly when. Livestock weren't pets. They were walking calories. A cow eats about 13-14 kilograms of hay a day. In winter, it doesn't plow and yields little milk, meaning a loss. Survivors pinpointed the break point, the day keeping the animal cost more than slaughter repaid. Then came preservation in sequence: heavy salting, smoking, cold air drying, and even burial in frozen earth. A peasant's deep freeze. Fat, hide, and bone became tallow lamps, hide glue, and bone broth rich in nutrients. They didn't just take the biggest beast. The order was old, weak, sick, first equal appetite, lower odds. Breeding pairs and the pregnant were guarded at all costs, the farm's future inside a single womb. Some regions even had traveling culling advisors to keep families from overshooting either way. Children were kept from animals about to be slaughtered, so emotion wouldn't sabotage the math. Keep too many and you run out of hay. Kill too many and spring lacks seed stock. Ledgers tracked each animal's hay share to forecast whether forage would last to late March. Then comes the last reserve seed grain. Eat it and live today. Save it and ensure the year to come. The harshest gamble begins. By March to April, stores are ghosts and bodies hollow. In a corner sit sacks of seed barley, oats, wheat edible, life-saving now, fatal if emptied. Villages vanished after eating their seed and facing spring with nothing to sow. The wise held out to the last sowing window. reading local weather with eyes trained by graves and yields. They'd even test sprout a handful to interview the soil's warmth before committing the lot. Sow too early and a late frost erases the field. Sow too late and the crop won't mature. Seed was tiered, elite stock in violet, second, and third rate for emergency eating. Some died beside unopened sacks because crossing that line signed next winter's death warrant. This skill demanded iron nerves and a microclimate sense, prevailing winds, frost pockets, and the lag of thaw on each specific plot. 7 skills, rough on the surface, intricate within, set against modern fragility. Their edge becomes clearer. The list sounds simple: live with animals, partial hibernation, immortal flame, strategic hunger, frost harvest, precise culling, and the seed gamble. But each was honed across generations, and mistakes were paid in bodies between January and April. Much of this knowledge has drifted away. We traded ancestral skill for central heating and supermarkets, a sensible bargain that also made us forget how breakable we are. When comfort blinds us, skill gets dismissed as fireside folklore. Drop a modern, educated person into a leaky timber house with a shrinking woodpile, and chances are they won't see Christmas. Not from stupidity, but from lacking the right rule book. Medieval people weren't backward. They were risk managers, vernacular thermal engineers, ration statisticians, scientists built by repetition and correction. Their daily cadence of measuring, adjusting, kept a small error from becoming a lost life. The goal isn't fear, but gratitude and respect for knowledge that once held the line. Closing any circle needs a final reminder. This is not just history. It's proof of human adaptability when the blade touches the throat. Without high tech, they used observation, discipline, and hand-to-hand teaching through brutal winters to win one season and then another. They made hard choices, paid high prices, and left descendants warm enough to forget the cost. Resilience lived in learning fast from mistakes and keeping the rules once learned. If anything is worth carrying forward, it's the ability to think coldly when survival demands it, and humility before those who learn these rules the expensive way. Within the 7 skills lives a very human science: measure, test, err, correct, endure until the thaw. Retelling it is a workout for the very mental muscles that once saved them. To keep that knowledge from slipping again, fix it in our shared memory by telling, challenging, and digging deeper. Which is why the final part asks for your voice. You've walked a condensed atlas of medieval winter survival, 10 tidy parts on paper, each a system paid for with sweat, tears, and ice. From the living furnace to the seed gamble, the lesson isn't that people were born tough, it's that knowledge made toughness possible. If this sharpened your view of the past, subscribe to Flow of History for more unsweetened dives, medieval medicine, ancient tactics, indigenous survival skills across cultures. Comment with the skill that chilled you most, or share family stories of hard winters. Stay warm, stay alert, and remember, you're alive because someone before you learned how to beat winter. Pass it on.